Hey, what's going on, guys? Any Pride here with Milk and Cookies Total War.
And Oakley and I from THFE Productions.
And we're going to be bringing you another 1v1 that we played a couple days ago. And this one's going to be the Punic Wars, Rome versus Carthage. Of course, it's not really the Punic Wars because I have Praetorian Guard and Armored Legionnaires with Lorica Segmentata on and stuff. So it's not really, it's post-Marius, but regardless.
Right, at the beginning of the battle I had said, I'm gonna Zama you so hard, which is a little bit of, just because, I mean, we'll talk about that in the near future. It's kind of has to do with the strategy of staggered lines that I had. But Indy caught that historical reference right away. He's like, "Oh, so that means you're gonna die?
You're gonna lose this battle? Like, is that how it's gonna work?" But my army setup is actually probably not very meta. Like, if you think about or look at what not professionals but really experienced tournament players do with Rome. For one, I have not played Rome very much on this patch at all. I've actually tried to stay away from Rome because I have a bunch of replays in the past on Rome 2 with this faction, so I've been staying away from them, but I wanted to hop on and use them in this battle. But this is not really a meta build. I think it's probably a little bit too elite-centric. I've got Evocati Cohort, Armor Legionnaires, one Praetorian Guard, which I talked about in the last Rome replay that I uploaded. That they're not actually very common anymore just because they cost so much money, and the Armor Legionnaires are like 400 talents less, and they can very often do the same amount of killing. But I felt like I'd bring something to anchor my line anyway. And then I have 3 Auxiliary Syrian Archers, 2 Triarii, and 3 Legionary Cavalry with a General's Bodyguard.
And you have a Balearic stuck in there at the end of the line as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, starting up this battle, Indy seems to have a small force, and just due to the nature of how I deploy, I think, Indy, you were saying you're kind of scared at first, because my force covers at least half that.
You're really spread out, yeah.
Which I always like to do. But like I was teasing before, I said I was going to Zama him. My thinking about this was I know Rome is really good at chopping through units, and so I didn't want to commit everything at once, because if I do, he's just going to cut through everything. And I knew the best way to kill Legionnaires is to tire them out and to slowly pick them apart. And so my thinking was to compartmentalize my forces into 3 lines, starting with kind of the weakest, so the late Libyan hoplites are in the front, and after that I have a line of 3 late Carthaginian hoplites, and then after that a line of 3 Carthaginian hoplites. So I was intending to have you kind of tackle each one of those separately, and each time you would get battered by the archers I have in front of each of those components. So I was hoping to just pick you off little by little, and then once you get to that last line, you would be really tired out, really exhausted, and that's when I could finish you off. And that's kind of, I say that's Zamaing you, because that's the way Hannibal had crafted his approach to the Battle of Zama, how he wanted to counter the Romans, and using almost like the Roman-style strategy of the triple Exacias. But I didn't have elephants this time around. However, I do have a lot of cav, so 4 of them are in the front, or yeah, 3 of them are in the front, pretty visible, and then my general in the back. And then over behind the sand dune, I have 3 Scutari cav, 2 of which are hidden at the moment.
And one of them I saw, actually. So, I mean, I don't know if you would have been able to successfully spring an ambush, because, of course, having a mini-map makes it a lot easier to see when someone's sneaking up behind you. But if I hadn't seen that, perhaps you would have been able to do something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, although I think you can only see 1. I do have 2 extra, so it did a little bit disguise the amount of cavalry that I had on the field. So before we start this battle, did you have any initial thoughts? What struck your mind when you first pulled into this? What were your strategies?
When I first saw your army, I was scared just because it's covering so much of the map, and I was like, this is going to be interesting, because I like to keep my forces pretty compact and then spread out as things go on, but I don't like to keep my lines very spread out because I feel like I can't micromanage it quite as well. So this is typically what you'll see from my army compositions, kind of how I do my deployments. So
I tend to think the opposite. Yeah. I like to stretch out and envelop the opponents as much as possible. So my thinking was, I'm gonna have him, surrounded fully, and you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna go about this piecemeal. So it's interesting to see the 2 different strategies and even setups right off the bat being totally different.
Do you want to press play on 3, 2, 1? Press play, and we'll get into it. So yeah, you're definitely gonna have a very distinct cavalry advantage. One thing that on previous patches, before patch 15, Rome actually had, well, I don't know if it was actually patch 15, it might have been a little bit earlier than that. When Rome had Draco, their cavalry was actually really strong. It was actually too strong. Historically, Rome did not have very powerful cavalry. They used auxiliaries. They used like Gallic auxiliaries, and they used a bunch of cavalry from different things, but like Roman cavalry by itself was not particularly strong. So when they had Draco on previous patches, they were actually able to take cav fights that they probably should have not been able to historically, and that's kind of changed now. They took away Draco, and the Roman cavalry is much less cost-effective, much less good. If we remember going back to patch 1, Roman cavalry was insane. It would beat cataphracts one-on-one in melee. So it was a good thing they got rid of that, but you're definitely going to have a very distinct cav advantage this game because you have 3 Scutari and 3 Carthaginian cavalry, is that right?
Yeah, and then the noble cav in the back.
Yeah, so you're definitely going to have a cavalry advantage. So again, I'm going to have to, I felt like I did this in every battle we played. I had to keep my lines very compact and keep my cavalry close to my lines. Like even in the last battle when I was Parthia, I kept my cavalry close to my lines just because I didn't want you to sneak in and get my archers with a little bit of early cav action.
And you can see the deployment right now. I moved on my right wing. I have one of those mercenary bulwarks, put it in the forest, and then I have that triple line formation that I'm keeping there. And you can see each of my skirmishers is stationed out front, and they're positioned in such a way that if any one of them gets, threatened by one of your cavalry, the other one can get some shots off. And each one of those units is supported either by a nearby cav or nearby infantry block that I can fall back to. So that's kind of a strategy you see me taking for skirmishers, is I'll put them way in advance, but just close enough to my lines that I can retreat, and I can bait a charge just like you're kind of falling for now. And when you do that, I'll get some counter charges or some free strikes. And this is kind of a tried and true tactic that I do almost in every battle.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to let your cavalry charge me, so I'm just going to back up. But yeah, it will give your skirmishers time to get like a couple of shots off, and I think you actually are going to get a couple of kills in legionary cav, I believe.
Yeah, here comes a volley coming in here. So this is something that I like to do a lot. It's the early microing things where I will allow you to get close, do a little pings of damage on you. It's not a huge move, but it can sometimes catch your opponent unwary, and then just getting some early, you can see all the splatters of blood, just getting some early HP damage to you is always good.
Yeah, so you're going to end up getting 2 kills there. Not a massive deal, but or 5 kills, but like you said, it's more about the HP damage, and that'll help you in a cavalry fight later on. One thing that I'm going to have to do here is, and it's scary because again, he has that cav advantage, which means he's gotten Carthaginian cavalry all the way in my flank, and I have to be very careful and keep my eye on the minimap the whole time, because if he moves in and gets like a charge on my gen, and I'm like not facing him or don't get a counter charge off, I could very easily lose my general, I could very easily lose my Syrian archers, and if that happens, I'm going to be in a bad position just to start this battle. So I have to keep my Triarii and everything very close to my lines, make sure he doesn't kill anything really important.
I'm making a push for your general, and you, like you said, you're watching that minimap like a hawk. But I have multiple units, so you can see I struck at one position that pulls one of your legionary cav. Your other back is exposed. My Carthaginian cav is coming from that side. So I'm just doing everything I can to keep you immobilized. And at the same time, my Balearics, my Cretans, they're all firing. So I'm just trying to keep you from counter-reacting all the while and, just get some shots in wherever I can.
Yeah, I did a little bit of HP damage to your noble cavalry as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. That was a good move, targeting that. I tried to push them in just to threaten you, make your archers shuffles. You didn't overreact to that. You're getting into a nice little box right there. That's not derogatory or anything. It's just what was required.
Well, yeah, I absolutely kind of have to box up right now because you have me completely surrounded with cavalry, and that's when you spring the ambush with a Scutari, and it looks like you're going to be looking for a melee fight here.
Yeah, I pulled out those 3 Scutari, which I don't think you were quite ready for, and I just go ahead and I throw one into your legionary cav. Probably not a fight I'll win, but it's something that I wanted to tie that down because I know you only have those 3 cav units, whereas I have like 5 or 6, and the more I can tie down, that means the more opportunities I have to exploit different points in your defenses.
It was absolutely a mistake for me to have taken this cavalry fight. I could have very easily run them closer to my swords or Triarii, and then you would have either just backed up, or if you decided to commit, my Triarii would have been way closer. But instead, I'm actually going to do kind of a bad job. Like, I run in there, and then I don't back up with any of my troops. Like, I do turn a lot of my skirmishers and start shooting in, and I did a lot of damage there, but I didn't back up with the Triarii anywhere near fast enough.
Yeah, and I'm kind of throwing away that Scutari and Carthaginian cav advantage. But it's taking out your legionary cav, which is what I want. If I can rob you of your mobility, then your archers are, they're at the mercy of my remaining cav. All the while, my archers are still picking off your units. I've particularly targeted your Triarii and any units you have in the front. The Evocati in particular are dropping pretty quick. So I'm using the confusion and the tying down of your cav to just take out the key units I want.
Yeah, so I don't have enough spears actually to cover all my flanks. I only have the 2 spears and all my cav is tied down. So I started using my swords as anti-cav measure, and it's honestly effective. Like, if he tries to charge a Carthaginian cavalry into a Praetorian guard or an Evocati cohort, he's going to get punished for that. Like, he'll get some kills, and he might be able to pull out and not take very many losses, but the Pila throw from close up is going to do damage, and he doesn't want to engage them from the front, basically. He wants to save those for hammer and anvils, right?
Yeah, and I see you're starting to pop some of your abilities. So I was able to take out, I think, one of your legionary cav. The other one's half strength, and another one's at 24. So I think I threw away, I think 2 cav units have gone down to maybe 2 roughly of yours. I think I did a pretty good exchange. I've gotten some good melee missile kills on some of your avocati and various troops, and now you're pushing forward. So now we're getting into sort of the meat of the engagement. And my cav, I decided to detach at this point and save them for another part of the battle.
So yeah, I engaged my Avocati and my Armor Legionnaires up in the front. This is a fight I should win against the Libyan Hoplites, and I've started focus firing your Mercenary Korean Archers who are dropping very quickly as well.
Yeah, and this is kind of the strategy I wanted, where I knew you would have your elite tier units to just come in, and so I was going to have you wear yourself out on some cheap crap units that can just hold you long enough, and maybe allow me to get some more Archer Fire, which I am getting at the moment. And then now my cavalry are coming in for seconds. So I've found your legionary cav. They're stationary. And one of them I get a decent strike. One is completely isolated. He's gone. The other one is chasing me off, and I'm just trying to pull you away from this fight. And you can see my noble cavalry kind of mirroring that, hoping you take the bait, and I'll come and countercharge them. And here you're going to come and engage with my second line. So my strategy is working. However, I do have a whole third line that's back here, kind of waiting. And I forgot about them a little bit, although they will come and commit later on in the battle.
Yeah, so I was really scared at this point because you have the cav advantage now for sure. Like, all my mobility is gone, and you have some full strength Carthaginian cav units. So I had to be very careful here and not let my skirmishers die, because they are going to be a really key, important part of this battle. And you're going to try to sneak your Carthaginian cav in here, and they're going to hit my Armor Legionnaires who are already hurt, and that charge did a lot of damage. But I'm quickly going to back up with my Praetorian Guard and kind of swallow them up and pincer them, and they're not going to be able to pull out of that fight too easily, it looks like. Actually,
yeah, and then although that charge with my Carthaginian hoplites, look at where your archers are ending up. I was able to force them back, and that's where this is the engagement that I'm always looking for in all my battles, is the point where you kind of slip up and your archers are exposed, and this is where I get a lot of free kills right here. But you do react quickly enough. I'm not able to wear them down, and you're going to countercharge, and kind of, yeah, all the pillow volleys is going to end up actually neutralizing a lot of my cav. So it maybe wasn't the best trade, but your archers are at least not firing, and they're getting bounced back and forth as opposed to getting shots on my guys.
Exactly, and you did do a good job making my skirmishers stop firing and just make them reform and do things that I didn't want them to do, because right now there were plenty of targets like this late Carthaginian hoplite with its back turn. I could have shredded that in a couple seconds if you weren't continuously charging your cavalry in and making them reposition, but you were. So
yeah, and like my Cretans are still alive. Like you said before, they're starting to drop. I was able to stop that and just keep getting heavy shot onto your guys. My cav here are finding more places to exploit your armored legionnaires, and yeah, your Praetorian Guard are now having to sort of face both ways, engage 2 units. And my strategy of just prolonging this combat is making for a lot of opportunities for my guys. I do wish I had engaged the rest of my forces right now. I was kind of, I sort of was too busy microing this main force, and I should have brought this force in, especially the Cretan archers. They could have been helping tear up some of your elite units.
Yeah, those hoplites that you left are definitely going to make... I mean, that's a problem for you, honestly. Like, obviously, like, that's 3 not really expensive units, but they're ones that could have definitely tied down a bunch of my swords, and you could really be using those right now. Yeah,
and I mean, part of me was planning on falling back to further and further positions, but at this point it probably would have been better to commit them, which you see me doing right now, but it's a little bit too little too late. Well, I think I let the pendulum of battle, whatever, swing too much in your favor.
It's starting to swing in my favor, but this battle is not even close to over yet. Like, you still have some skirmish units left, you still have a half-strength noble cavalry, your general's not dead, and a bunch of your guys are still in melee and haven't routed yet, so, I mean, yeah, the balance bar started to shift in my favor, but battle's not over yet.
Yeah, and I'm picking off some of your avocati. They got too far. I got to charge against them. So you do have some guys on your extremities that I'm able to pick apart, but at the same time, some of my cav are getting swallowed up in some positions.
Yeah, I let my avocati get too far out over here, and you're actually gonna, I guess, run out of ammo with the Blair Slingers. Yeah. And commit them into melee. And this was actually smart, because if you manage to pull your noble cavalry out of this fight and then hammer and anvil with the Belair's kind of tanking the melee engagement, then if you repeated hammer and anvils is going to make this avocati route for sure.
And if you look at your Praetorians, I'm continuing to get some Carthaginian cavalry strikes in the back, but those are a tough unit, and that's where I'm trying to focus my my hammer and anviling is over at this unit. But you can also see our archers just countering fire, and my Cretan archers, they have 120 kills. Oh no, sorry, they just have what? How do they have 1 kill? Oh, that's because it was that reserve force. Anyways, I have them on heavy shot, and they're going to be targeting some of your armored legionnaires.
Did you actually put them on heavy shot? Oh, you did.
Yeah.
There, yeah. Okay. Just for future reference, I don't think you're supposed to do it because the heavy shot, it makes you lower the range, and the amount of damage you get for it doesn't really.
Really?
It's not really advantageous. So yeah, I know that a lot of better players than me, like Prussian Prince, never use heavy shot on any of his archers ever. Like horse archers, none of those does he use it on. So I trust him. I just don't use it. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work for you, but.
Yeah. Well, anyways, my third line is coming in here, and they're trying to stem the tide. In the back, I still have some troops running around trying to find a gap in your forces, but now you've been able to rally, and your archers are going to be able to reform, and that's probably the main thing, is that even though I got that strike earlier, somehow your Syrians and Balearics survived. And this is where you can start picking apart my reinforcements that would otherwise be, I mean, they're full strength and they're green. If you look at your Praetorians and Armored Legionnaires, they're all going to be tired. Like, all your units are tired.
Yeah.
If you take away your archers, I think I would have won this battle.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I feel like if I had brought maybe like a Balearic Slinger Corps, I would have been, or like for my skirmish component, I would have been in real trouble because if you look at how many men are left, there are only 33 men out of the unit, and that's because they have really, really low armor. But the 40 armor of the auxiliary Syrian archers actually really helped. You did get cav charges off on me, but I was able to survive them because I pulled them back and kind of let them not get like completely charged for free. Like you kind of had to hit other units at the same time, and the HP and the armor of the more heavily armored archers made them survive those engagements.
Yeah, and here we have a general duel. At the moment, I have 25, you have 14, but you do get your Triarii in that fight, so that will start to help tip the scales. I do get one cav unit into the mix, but like you're saying, just the armor of those Syrians is not going to allow them to go down. I even have some of my own mercenary Balearics coming in, just anything to tie you down. And yeah, your Praetorians are cutting through my men, but I'm holding in pretty well. And here they go, and they still have Pilla somehow.
My Praetorian Guard do?
Yeah, they just threw another volley at my
hoplites.
hoplites.
The shields, yeah. And so yeah, they're gonna enter melee combat, and these Carthaginian hoplites are fresh. So yeah, in some ways, like again, of course, it would have been more beneficial to have those Carthaginian hoplites earlier in the battle. But my very tired Praetorians are fighting fresh Carthaginian hoplites, so I'm not gonna be able to cut through that very quickly. And especially if you get them in a phalanx formation, which you did, yeah, from the front, that's not gonna be a particularly easy engagement for me.
Yeah, and in the back, my your general actually ended up beating mine, so that was unfortunate. I was hoping to get that morale blow to you, and then I could use my general to keep harassing your cavalry or do some hammer and anvils. But yeah, maybe if I had been a little bit more cautious with my cavalry, like if I had kept one at this point in the battle, like I had 6 and you had what, 3? Yeah. Had I still had some left at this point, it probably would have been could have turned the tide. But I think I did use them pretty effectively. I'm trying to think back to what I could have done better. But yeah, just maybe trying to save them a little bit more and not continuously throwing them into your force. Instead, throwing maybe some hoplites to do that and let the archers getting that killing fire.
Yeah, I think the longer the battle went, the harder it would have been for me to protect my skirmishers. So, I mean, one cav unit would not have been able to kill all those archers. It simply wouldn't have. I would have just like targeted the rest of my archers to shoot at the cav unit as it came in. But if you kept like, you had 2 full-strength Carthaginian cav after the cav fight was over, and as my general dies there charging into the archers. I think if you had 2 cav units, that would have been enough to kill that archer blob, and killing that would have definitely changed things for this battle for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, I mean, look at my hoplites fighting against your Praetorians. Your Praetorians are getting nowhere because they're so tired. So my strategy of keeping these reserve lines was working decently well. I just needed some remaining killing power at this point.
It was actually really interesting because, like Oakley said earlier, when the engagement first started, during the cav fight actually, I popped my general's abilities and I was using the Julius Caesar gen, and I haven't used that at all, like because I just got Caesar in Gaul DLC like a couple weeks ago on the Steam sale, and I haven't used him as a general at all, so I popped the ability like way too early and I didn't realize that you can't use the ability twice. So both of his abilities I used like super early in the battle and didn't get to use them again. And Unbreakable, like none of my guys were wavering, and apparently I used an ability that makes it so your guys get Unbreakable morale, so like completely pointless usage of my abilities, but I thought that was kind of funny.
And look at my Cretans who are shooting into the back of your Avocati. I'm like almost gonna make them rout, and my Carthaginian hoplites are holding on to both sides of that assault. And like all these guys who I kept to the end, they're all holding out pretty well. I mean, besides these one Carthaginian hoplites now who are sandwiched, but like they're holding their own against units that would otherwise just chop them up.
Yeah, and that's because they have the high armor and they're fresh, and that helps a lot. Like, a lot of people don't realize how much stamina actually matters in this game, and I say it matters, but yet I still run my guys wherever I go, no matter what. Like, I never walk them ever. I don't know if you do the same, but, like, it's just funny, because stamina actually does matter a lot, and sometimes you overlook it, and you can see, like, your guys lasted for so long in melee just because they were fresh.
Yep.
But still managed to rout that Carthaginian hoplite and then get my Evocati and my Armor Legionnaires around the flank and charge in the rear, and that will signal the end of this battle.
Yeah. So, I mean, end reflections on this. I think my strategy worked pretty well. It could have used a little bit more refinement, like I said, for that third block to move in, and then maybe a little bit more cleaning up how I handled my cav. But for the most part, I think I did a good job of surrounding and picking you apart. It was just the final moves, maybe in the last third of the battle, that I didn't do so well.
Yeah, I think honestly, and I said this in the last battle that I did Rome vs Carthage, which was maybe like 2 multiplayer battles ago, is that I do think Rome has the advantage against Carthage in a 1v1, but the way to win with Carthage, and it's not like you have to bring some kind of crazy army composition that you never see, but I think avoiding infantry engagements for a while and picking them apart with the cavalry and skirmishing for a while is definitely the way to go. Like, maybe even bringing 1 or 2 more cavalry units could be utilized really effectively, and just have like a couple of high-tier hoplites, like tying them down, and then have the cavalry come in from the rear. I think that could have changed things for you. Like, literally, I think 1 more cav unit, like at the end of that battle there, could have changed how that battle ended up. Because keeping my skirmishers alive, I mean, you look how much damage they did. They each got more than 100 kills for the most part, so they made a big impact on the battle, and if you'd been able to get at them, it would have been a different battle, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at my troops, I don't see anyone that's like that's super underperformed from either of our armies. Like,
Yeah.
maybe one of your legionary cav, and for mine it might be the late Libyan hoplites. But those were the fodder units that I knew would just.
Yeah, that's a throwaway unit. That's not going to
Yeah.
kill anything. Yeah.
I mean, but for the most part, like, we kind of ground each other down. Everyone got fair amounts of kills.
Yeah, it was a really hard battle. I liked your early cav action. You surrounded me, and I think I responded relatively well, and I think we both played pretty well. But yeah, I think the ultimate game changer was you leaving and just forgetting about those hoplites at the end there, which it happens. I mean, it's happened to everyone. Heir of Carthage did it to me in Scandinavian tournament. He left like 2 noble horse for the Iceni, like just off on the other corner of the map. And I mean, I've done that as well too. I've left units just randomly on the battlefield before, so it happens.
Yeah. And I mean, it sucks because I was I think bragging about how I was using the debug cam where I can zoom in, zoom out as much as I want.
Yeah.
But then again, like, having those units off to the side, I mean, I did forget about them for a little bit, but it was also part of my plan to have you encounter each of my armies in steps. So I wasn't too worried about having those 3 hoplites out of the fight. I think I would have done that even if I knew they were there the entire time. It was mostly that 1 archer unit that I think could have been there to help pick apart your guys before they could kill my troops. Like, killing your guys at the end of the fight as opposed to middle way through the fight, it's better to kill them midway through the fight because all that time they're getting kills. So if I'd been able to target your Praetorians a little earlier, it might have maybe saved a couple more of my units, and it sort of snowballs the effects of leaving those Praetorians alive.
Yeah.
But
so I hope you guys enjoyed that battle. I had a lot of fun playing it for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully we can do more of these commentaries in the future. I think in terms of the mini-series that we did, 2 wins for me, 2 wins for you, so we'll put this as to be continued, maybe.
Sure, absolutely. And I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah, see you next time. And also make sure to check out Milk and Cookies Total War if you're checking this out from my channel currently.
And for my channel, check out THFE Productions. Oakley High Def. See you guys later.
See you.